So listen, we all know dragons. No matter where you live in the world, you've heard of the giant flying reptiles that breathe fire, hoard treasure, and get slain by knights and heroes. As you've already seen from the title of this video, I'm not going to spend the next 10 or so minutes wasting everyone's time by explaining what dragons are and what they can do. But one dragon in particular plays a really big part in Geralt's story so far, and he really does need some explaining, especially since he's a unique creature in the Witcher universe. So, while this is going to be a Monsters Explained video, I'm going to do away with the lore and beyond the lore divisions for this one, and take a more free-form approach, breaking down aspects of the dragon as they come up, and addressing how they are important to the narratives of the different Witcher mediums, before trying to bring it all back together by the end of my discussion for a bit of theory crafting. I know a lot of you fans will disagree with some of my assessments, but I promise I'm not trolling you, and I hope we can have a lively discussion where we all learn something in the comments. Consider this your spoiler warning for Season 1, Episode 6, and for the story The Bounds of Reason from the book The Sword of Destiny, because I'm gonna get right into it after this title card. This man, Borch 3 Jackdaws, is a dragon. See, I warned you about spoilers. As you might have guessed, his name is just an alias. His true dragon name is Villentretenmerth, which means 3 black birds. So the name 3 Jackdaws actually makes sense, since a jackdaw is a crow-like black bird. Since I'm not monetized yet, I don't need to pad out this video, so I'm just gonna call him Borch from now on. Borch also doesn't look like a human all the time, since he can take the form of pretty much any living being that he likes. He's able to do this because he's a true polymorph, meaning his transformation abilities are even greater than those of sorcerers or dopplers, since they are usually restricted by either size differences or number of forms, and he isn't. I'm referring to Borch specifically here, rather than all dragons, because most dragons can't transform at all. But as I've noted, Borch isn't most dragons. He's a golden dragon. Golden dragons have all of the attributes and abilities of regular dragons, including their large size, a high level of intelligence, wings that allow them to fly, fire breath, and tough scaly skin. But along with polymorphism, gold dragons differ from their more conventional cousins by being mutants, who are stronger and faster than normal dragons, have better reflexes, and enhanced psychic and magical abilities. They are the protectors of their kind, responding to the calls of distressed dragons to fight off other species that threaten the dragons that cannot defend themselves, sometimes claiming a reward for their efforts. Yes, that's right. Golden dragons are basically Witcher dragons. That means there's one more important aspect to golden dragons that needs to be brought up and discussed, which is that they are sterile. Now, some game fans are probably going to disagree with me on that point, as CD Projekt Red decided to retcon this idea and admittedly did something really cool with it. However, it's actually very important to the themes of the story that we accept that golden dragons are sterile, which means that Borch is not the biological father of the dragonling, or the egg in the show. Here's why. Borch is here to reinforce the theme of Geralt's destiny. So Episode 6, Rare Species, is mostly an adaptation of the short story The Bounds of Reason. The show misses the mark, adaptation-wise, in a few ways, like how they excluded a bunch of characters like Doragary, Sheepbagger and the Bearfield Men, Gillensteern, and King Nidamir's entire retinue, who all have strong opinions and participate in philosophical discussions about how to deal with the dragon and what the role of mankind should be in the world. Another difference is that the dwarves are displayed in a much more sympathetic light than in the books, probably because Yarp and Zigrin may have a part to play in the future. They turned Sir Ike into a lunkhead who was killed off-screen while taking a poo, when he had a bit more of an interesting role in the story in the books. When it comes to the dragon though, I'd actually say that the show does a decent job, especially if you can put aside the janky-looking CGI. It wasn't anywhere near as disappointing as some other dragon adaptations in recent years. I'd be lying if I said the show didn't take any liberties with the Golden Dragon. their depictions of Borch are actually different in some pretty important ways. In the show, Borch is depicted as an old man who is looking for a final first, one last adventure. He asks Geralt multiple times to join him in the hunt before Yen shows up and Geralt decides to join on his own. During his fake-out death scene, Borch tells Geralt that Geralt will save them yet, but he must let go. His fighting skills are never really explored much in the show. His strategy basically amounted to bringing 2 Zerrikanian women and Geralt to help him fight. That being said, he does breathe fire on one Reaver who ventures too close to the egg, but that's about it. He also actually fails to rescue the mother dragon in time, and is left with an egg at the end of the story. Along with being psychic, Borch seems to be able to have premonitions, telling Geralt and Yen that nothing will come of their relationship, and that Yen's womb will never be restored. But in the books, Borch is a very lively man, who likes to drink beer and who enjoys the company of his 2 Zerrikanian companions. Geralt even joins them for a bit of a good time in a large washtub. Borch never actually asks Geralt to join the hunt, and actually pretends to be heading somewhere else entirely. When they get stuck at a border though, Geralt hears Yen has joined the hunt and decides to go. Borch helps his buddy Geralt bribe a border guard and will travel with him because he enjoys his company. In reality, this is when he sees his chance to keep his enemies close. Rather than just pointlessly dying, Borch chooses a bridge crossing as a spot for an ambush. He tells Geralt to stay back with him, but when Geralt ignores him, he still proceeds with the plan of causing a landslide. This causes the destruction of several wagons full of weapons and supplies, kills members of the king's retinue, and nearly kills Geralt and Yen. Rather than letting his enemies get close to the thing he was protecting, Borch actually takes up a defiant position in a field at the end of a rocky path, barring the way forward. He baits Sir Ike into a one-on-one duel, and then defeats him quickly and gracefully. It's at this point that Geralt, Dandelion, and Doragary try to stop the hunt, but Yen, the Reavers, and the Dwarves tie them up. Yen then double-crosses the Reavers and Dwarves to claim the dragon for herself, but she's also subdued. Borch wasn't just waiting around though, and is charged in, tired of waiting for his next challenger. He defeats the Dwarves and Reavers on his own, but is then ambushed by a large group of villagers and their wagons and nets. Luckily, he's able to best them with the help of Yen and the Zerrikanians. While all this chaos is going on, the mother dragon was able to escape to safety. As payment, she left behind her treasure for Borch and her newborn dragonling. Borch does tell Geralt and Yen that their relationship won't work out, but it seems to be done in a more casual way, like it's a conclusion he comes to after talking to them and maybe reading their minds a little. He also says that he cannot cure Yen's infertility, but again, doesn't seem to act like he knows the future and that she could never be cured. Now, the CGI budget can largely explain why the dragon didn't do much fighting himself. It can also be argued that this is why they wrote in a way to animate one dragon instead of 3. But having the mother die and the dragonling as an egg also fits nicely with the more pessimistic tone of the show's story, since Borch is only left with the potential of a continuation of his dragon legacy in the show. It emphasizes that he's a being who is dealing with the death of his species, who needs to find a way to keep his legacy alive in the face of certain oblivion. Borch is an old man acting out of desperation and duty to his dying race's fate, while Book Borch is a badass human hunter who is excited and hopeful about getting a child that he could never have gotten on his own. The important thing about these two takes on Borch is that they are tailor-made to demonstrate to their version of Geralt that he should embrace his destiny too. Most people would agree that Henry Cavill has done an excellent job portraying Geralt, but Geralt's show arc doesn't match up chronologically with his book arc. Both show and book start with a Geralt that doesn't believe in the power of destiny, and by the end of the season, Geralt believes in the power of destiny and accepts that he needs to take care of Ciri. This only happens at the end of the second book. The first season of the show is about 8 hours long. Geralt splits his time with Yennefer and Ciri, But let's round up and say that the showrunners spend about 6 hours getting his arc across. The books spend all of their time on Geralt's arc in the first 2 books, and they use 13 different stories over nearly 700 pages to get the same amount of character development in. Another difference is that book Geralt is way more stubborn than show Geralt about accepting fate, meaning that most of his arc about accepting destiny doesn't really get kicked into high gear till closer to the end of the second book, while the shows do a pretty good job of steadily building up that conclusion over the whole season. All of that is to say that show Geralt is much more developed in this particular way by the time he meets Borch than book Geralt was. Show Geralt has actually taken the lessons of his stories so far and drawn the connections between them, and is very, very close to accepting the inevitability of destiny. He is well primed to receive the more somber message that emphasizes desperation and duty from show Borch. Borch is not the father of the dragon egg, but someone needs to care for it now that the mother is dead. Borch will be the one to do it because he answered the call of destiny, and he'll be happy about it because of what it represents for the future. Book Geralt, on the other hand, is still running away from his destiny at this point. His theme in this story is that he's just kind of existing, and needs a direction to head towards, and Borch helps get him pointed in the right direction. Take this exchange between the two of them. "I'm riding with them for the same reason I rode with you to the Log Driver's Inn, because it's all the same to me. I don't have a goal to head towards. I don't have a destination at the end of the road." 3 Jackdaws cleared his throat. "There's a destination at the end of every road. Everybody has one. Even you, although you like to think you're somehow different." "Now I'll ask you a question." "Ask it." "Do you have a destination at the end of the road?" "I do." "Lucky for you." "It's not a matter of luck, Geralt. It's a matter of what you believe in and what you serve." Book Borch wasn't haunted by an inevitable fate. He was determined and purposeful because his destiny gave him a goal that he had embraced. He is happy to save and care for the Dragonling, and says, "Owing to him I shall survive, Geralt of Rivia. I shall prove there are no limits of possibility. One day you will also find such a purpose, Witcher." Book Geralt needed to see this more optimistic message that emphasized hope and parenthood from Book Borch to make the choice to allow fate to work through him. And much of the rest of his character development comes from him wrestling with this choice. Again, it's important that Borch is not the actual biological father of this baby dragon, because Borch has no natural responsibility for this child any more than Geralt has a natural responsibility for Ciri. Borch's choice to accept responsibility is what will create his legacy and fulfill his destiny, and this is the example that Geralt needed to see at the time. Villentretenmerth is really one of the most fascinating characters in the Witcher universe, and his impact on Geralt's story is far-reaching. I think I might have scratched the surface of something interesting here, so I'm going to make it the first part of an ongoing series exploring some of the themes of destiny in the books. I've already mentioned in my previous video about the Djinn that it might be interesting to speculate on the exact wording of Geralt's last wish, and I think that this would tie in really nicely with some of the stuff I've brought up here. Please let me know if you have any theories or ideas down in the comments section for any of this stuff. And what do you think? Is Borch really a reflection of Geralt? Do you think I missed the mark here? Have you seen any other parallels between seemingly different characters in the books or the show? Please let me know down in the comments. Give me a like and subscribe here on YouTube so you can keep up with my future videos. This is the Laughing Storm, and I hope to see you next time.